There you are, live on YouTube, Dana Banana. The mic is all yours.
Hey everyone, you guys can hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. Before I start off, I want to start this with what I would call my true prayer of surrender at this point. This is, I think, at this particular stage, what resonates with me most. And it's going to be that line from self-concept versus self. I do not know the thing I am, and therefore I do not know what I am doing, where I am, or how to look upon the world or on myself. And this is where I'm at every single day, which, I think is actually a pretty cool thing because that statement, which I know the line right before it, it said something to, I actually have I have it up, but I'm not looking right at it. But it says something about how it's one thing that nobody wants to say, but it's true. And for me, it's the only thing I can say because it's at this point, it's the only thing that's true for me. I do not know what I am. I do not know what any of this is. I just don't. And so when it comes to the thoughts and the experiences and the judgments, no matter what they look like, I can see that every meaning, every definition, every judgment that I've ever made about anything is in the past, and that I can't trust any of it, and that I just really need to be in a constant state of surrender. So, and I'll admit, because I'm just going to throw this right out there, that the mind is feeling a little jumbled right now because I was just on the phone with billing when it had to do with a procedure I have to have, before this surgery. And I think I've reached this place where I've realized that the surgery isn't screwing with me, with my head, as much as the insurance stuff and the phone calls and all of these details. I'm 52 years old, but in a way, I'm like a child because I just don't really have the mind for this sort of thing. This is all so confusing, and I know that there are lots of people that find this stuff confusing. I'm not the only one, but I've never really had to deal with this before, so it's just a lot of details and a lot of confusing stuff, and then phone calls and more phone calls, and so my head's a little bit jumbled up, and but anyway, um, that is that is okay because I think I'm in the right place for that sort of thing. I don't know what it's for. I don't know what I am. I don't know what this body is. I don't know what the procedure's for. I don't know what any of this information even means. But I can see how the mind wants to take it and judge it and twist it and be in a frenzy over it. And that's okay. I'm going to let that be there because my only job is to hand it over to truth. And as far as this course is concerned, I have to say it's a breath of fresh air for me to know that it really does not matter what comes up, what the story is, who's involved, what's involved, what emotions or fears or thoughts or inner dialogues may or may not come up to the surface. It's all for the same thing, right? This is just for forgiveness. And I will get into a quick story about trust and about how, going along with surgery stuff and insurance stuff. Um, I have to have an MRI on Monday. And according to my policy, it was one of those things that, it'll only be approved if your primary care physician writes the referral. And of course, if it gets authorized and approved and all of this stuff. And so it turned out that it was the specialist that had written the referral for this. And so Friday, I'm starting to panic. Actually, it was Saturday. That's right. It was Saturday that I realized it. I couldn't get on the phone with anybody by that point. So it was like, I'm going to have to all things work together for good. That's what Karen says. There are no exceptions except in the ego's judgment. Yes, exactly. And thank you for that reminder, Karen. Hi, Karen. And so anyway, so okay, mental note, get on the phone with whomever and try to find out what I need to find out. Anyway, long story short, I'm able to book an appointment with the primary care physician, and they go ahead and they send this off for authorization. And I go through, it's like the 2 days of scrambling and phone calls and holds and this and that. And this whole time, there was a little something in the back of my mind that was like, you kind of know you're supposed to be trusting here, right? You've already given this entire thing over to the Holy Spirit. You can admit that you don't know anything. And here, it's like you're trying to control everything. And then, of course, the little voice in the back of my head's like, well, of course you have to control everything. You don't trust the insurance companies. You don't trust these people. I mean, there's a history, not just maybe your own, but lots of other people. There's lots of false witnesses out there about, how you can't trust the people on the phone. They don't know what they're talking about. There's lots of mistakes being made. So there's this like little contrasting, points of view going on in the back of my mind. Anyway, after that's all said and done, the insurance company had gone ahead and approved the original referral for the MRI through the specialist. And very, very much like that story of Helen and the potentially broken elevator in her condo building. And she goes and she makes the arrangements to go to the hotel. And then she's, I guess, given the guidance like, well, if you had listened, instead of trying to fix what wasn't broken, then you would have realized that none of this was necessary. So, turns out none of anything I had done was necessary. I did not trust. And I hate to say it, but I'm in a place right now where, given the entire situation all over again, I probably would make the same decision. But it's interesting for me to look at that. And the only thing I can do is I can't right now change the behavior, because I am not the one who can change my mind. But what I can do is I'm willing to hand over everything that is going on in this mind, including the trust issues, including the fears, including everything, and simply be willing, for the truth rather than what I have made of this entire thing. But I thought that might be interesting to bring that up. I wasn't trusting, and it all seemed to work itself out, and without my involvement in it, nonetheless. So, um, I'm, the other thing I had wanted to mention was I was listening to what Lynn was saying right before our class. It's all about, Lynn put in the chat, it's all a lesson for you. Mind watching is a good result. Yes, exactly. And I do a lot of mind watching. And Mickey had written my latest mantra: allow, accept, forgive, hand it over. Yes, exactly. That has been my mantra too. And I think what has shifted for me, at least within the last, I don't know, 6 months to a year, is realizing that this is not about notice the thoughts, notice the behaviors, and then change them. I spent many, many years doing stuff like that. I don't know this thing I am. I don't know where I am, what anything is. How could I possibly know what to change? I don't even understand the problems as they show up. So it's not for me to change anything. It's really just for me to let it up and hand it over, very much like what was just put in the chat. But I was listening to what you were saying, Lynn, about, younger people and, the Lyme disease and just different situations with the body. And what popped into my mind, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but what popped into my mind was that, well, there's been such a strong call to awaken that it's really not all that surprising to me that we will hear about bodies acting up and calling for attention, because that's, I think, what it is it's just a call for attention, and it'll show up in as many forms and as many people as possible, because I kind of feel like that might be one of the ego's last stands. I mean, you're not gonna, you're not, Dove had put, hey, Dove, what blocks awakening is worry. Yeah, yeah. And thinking about something I think I had listened to with one of Regina Dawn Akers' videos is it's about attention. You know, where what is being called insofar as our attention. And and then Dove had just put, with worry, gratitude is impossible. Yes, because gratitude is such a state of grace. Whereas obviously worry isn't. But I do, or I have at least noticed that when worry comes up, if it is brought to forgiveness, if it's brought to the light of forgiveness, can certainly lead to gratitude, or at least it has for me. So as much as I've felt triggered by different things, as much as all of this seems very confusing, including whatever I think I am, when it's all said and done, I tend to feel a profound sense of gratitude about the very thing I resisted at first. So maybe that is something. Yeah, maybe that is something. I don't think ever in my life that I have experienced the kind of gratitude that I've experienced since practicing this course, since practicing forgiveness, because when a trigger comes up, even if it's one that really seems to knock you to your knees, and you're in the middle of, oh gosh, I wish this didn't happen. I wish this didn't happen. I wish this didn't happen. But then sometime later on, after you have, you know, been with it, let it be there, whether, regardless of what type of forgiveness I'm practicing on it at the time, how sometime later on I could look at that and it's genuine and it's like, oh, thank God, literally, thank God that happened. You know, I am so glad that I was so triggered because I can see what purpose, at least to some extent, that was for. That was taking up space in my mind, and it came out to be let go. And I'm very, very grateful. You know, I've been able to go from complete and utter panic, sometimes rage, sometimes as heated as it can get, to within a matter of, actually, it doesn't really matter how much time, but sometimes within the matter of an hour or two, whatever, of, I cannot believe how happy I am that that actually happened, because I feel so grateful to have been able to really look at that with Holy Spirit and offer this up to the light of truth and let it be released. Let love judge this. I am nobody to judge this here. But yeah, I wanted to mention that. I just kind of caught what you were saying in the last, like, I don't know, minute or so before before I came on and started to talk. That's kind of what I think is going on. I think that there's just been a lot of focus on the body, because I think it is the call away from awakening, from practicing forgiveness. It's no, 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 look over here, look over here. I'm more important. You need to pay attention to me. I am your separation. And I'm going to call to you because I want your attention. You've been looking over there. You've been looking at God. You know, we can't have you doing that. We can't have you going back into the mind. Pay attention to me and this symptom, right? That's what popped into my head when you had mentioned that, Lynn. And I just wanted to say that. Robert, hey, Robert. I am an illusion. This is what he put into the chat. I am an illusion. Why do you listen to me? Because I am here to help release us both. Unknown. Yes. Why do you listen to me? Because I'm here to help release us both. Exactly. Not easy to see until you actually learn that that is its purpose. And then Lynn had put, yes, it is a counter call. So that's kind of what I feel. And I've mentioned it before, and I can't say that I'm right. I don't know what I'm right about, but I've said it before. I'll say it again because this is kind of how it's showing up to me. But I think the resistance will equal the willingness. And so if there's a lot of willingness, I think, you know, again, one of the laws of this world, I realize it's not one of God's laws, but one of the laws of the world, supposedly, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're going to practice abundant willingness, then I think abundant resistance is probably going to show up too, right? And that the ego really would not be this loud um, if it was not feeling threatened. So, in a way, it kind of sucks. It's loud, it's uncomfortable. I've been extremely uncomfortable this week. However, on the flip side, I've had an opportunity to allow some of this stuff that's been there all along. And I think, Lynn, I think I heard you mention something like maybe this has been there all along and we just haven't really noticed it. One thing I've noticed about thought watching is that the triggers, all of these things, they've been here all along. I just didn't know what it was, right? It's kind of the difference between, oh, I can kind of hear a little bit of, say, bass music going on in the background, but you're not really, you can hear it and you can kind of even notice that it seems like your own body's rhythm is kind of picking up on it and sort of matching it. But that's it. You don't know anything else and you're going on about your business. Where with awareness, it's like you've located the stereo, you've located the setting for where the bass is, and you know exactly what it is and exactly why it's been there this whole time. And so it's kind of like, okay, all of these thoughts, all of these triggers, all of these very strong emotions, they're all coming up. These are not new. I've noticed that they were there, but I didn't notice that I was noticing it. And I wasn't cognizant of it before. But now when I watch, it's like, of course that's there. It's always been there. I just didn't know what it was and I didn't know what it was for. And now I can see that it's only for forgiveness. This is what I have been carrying around with me my entire life. And as I had discussed last week, a lot of this stuff it shows up in the body. I really wouldn't be surprised. You mentioned Lyme disease. I don't really know very much about Lyme disease. I've never looked into it, but I'm sure it's got some kind of symbolic meaning to it, so to speak. I know we've given everything all the meaning it has, but as far as what condition of the mind might translate into this particular symbol, I might be interested in that just because it came up. But I'm noticing that it seems that these health conditions, they're all symbolic, right? They're just telling you this is where you've stored your guilt. This is where and it can even get seemingly specific because this world loves specifics, right? This particular type of feeling. This is where it may be stored in this area of the body. And it could show up in this way or that way. And depending on how long you've been carrying it or how much you've been feeding it, it could potentially grow to this size. And that, maybe we go to the doctors and we look at our lab results and it's all very telling, but all the lab results are telling you, they're not telling you the cause of anything. They're telling you the results, and the results are, this is what you think, this is what you believe. And so this is how it's going to show up in the body, right? Including the numbers, including all of these readings and so on. And I have found it very, very interesting. And I think I mentioned it last week, but I'll just quickly kind of mention it again, just in case nobody heard that. But, here I've got autoimmune thyroid disease. It shows up as Hashimoto's. And for years, right. Yes, Robert, tests show the effect, not the cause. Exactly. And how, this is considered autoimmune disease, is considered self-attack on the body. It's just the body's defenses getting into like hyper defense mode, and it starts attacking all healthy tissues. In my case, it's thyroid. Other people, it could be anything, right? I think there's hundreds of them. If I'm not mistaken, there's at least over 300 different autoimmune diseases. And I've been recognizing this as unconscious self-attack, right? How it shows up, I guess that's going to be whatever the personal code that somebody is carrying within them. But the autoimmune disease itself is kind of universal. Unconscious self attack. This is what is in the one mind that we are all just seemingly fragments of, and this is how it shows up personally. And how, for the longest time, here I was in the health and fitness industry, and it was always about the diet and the lifestyle and the nutrition, and stay away from this thing and try to get more of this other thing in, and take these supplements and stay away from these other supplements. It all gets very confusing. And nothing I did seemed to make any difference, especially because it was all coming from fear. That was another thing I kind of noticed throughout this week that I can hope to get back to when I finish saying this. But all lifestyle, all physical doings, all of this, it was all fear based on top of it. So it was like, it wasn't even anything I had even done to try to promote well being, was all done from an I'm trying to run away from this diagnosis. And my approach to health was, well being, but it was really well being dictated by fear. It was not well being dictated by a sense of self kindness and compassion and gentleness. And so the numbers would not change and the symptoms wouldn't change until one day I asked, and this is again after starting this course, one day I asked myself a question. And it was like, what does this mean? Like, really, what does this even mean? What is the thyroid? What does the thyroid mean? Where is it located in the body? And once I learned, the thyroid regulates in the throat chakra, and this part of the body, this chakra system, which is just an energy center, right? This is one of the areas in the body through which a certain type, whether we allow or deny the expression of, it'll either create movement and health, or it'll create a blockage. And in that blockage, we can pretty much figure all kinds of other things will be blocked, but that is the unconscious self-attack. I was attacking my authentic self-expression, and I've been noticing it. And without trying to change it, without using the me that I thought I've always been to try to fix this problem, I kind of noticed it. I've been handing it over. I don't know what truth is. I don't know what anything is, but if I'm going to talk, I only want to speak. Even if in this case, even if it's just echoes of the right minded, thought system, I care very much now what I say. I ask a lot of the time before I'm going to say something, what is this for? I never used to know to ask that question. It's a beautiful question to ask. I have found more often than not that there's absolutely nothing to say once I've asked that question. But through paying attention and learning a little bit more and practicing forgiveness on where I stop myself, where I block myself, the lab numbers changed on their own, right? I brought gluten back into my diet almost 2 years ago. It has not made a dent. In fact, again, when I had used all the lifestyle stuff, I had to increase my levothyroxine numbers at least twice. I had to triple the medication. Here, I've done nothing except A Course in Miracles and looking at what appears to be symbolic in the body and what it was actually telling me, practicing forgiveness on it, and the symptoms improved, right? And so did the lab results. So, just insofar as what is the body for, I think that all of these things are really just showing us this is where you block yourself, right? This is where you block love's communication from being extended through you, and instead is riddled with your own stories, with your own ideas, with your own beliefs, with your own traumas that are continuing to be held on to. So, anyway, that is pretty much what has been going on with me through the week. Just practicing trust and seeing where I don't, and seeing that even though I am seeing it, I actually I'm not the one to change it. I'm just the one to hand it over. So when it comes to I need to do nothing, um, which is a beautiful teaching. And I love it because I've always been kind of lazy. So for me, it's like, really, I need to do nothing and that's good. I'm totally cool with that. But this part of me that has been so much wanting to control everything about life, everything about my experience, that has been the thing I have noticed probably more than ever. And it's the hardest thing to let go of. And I'm not the one to let go of it. I'm just the one to hand it over. I'm the middleman here. I'm the one who notices what comes up. I'm the decision maker here, right? I notice what comes up and I simply make the decision. No, thank you. I am not choosing to keep this. Holy Spirit, it's yours. I'm willing to look with you and I'm willing to trust you. And I don't even think I need to be in a hurry as far as when I feel that trust can happen. My only job is that willingness, that little bit of willingness. So that has been, yeah, that has been, I guess, my story so far for the week. I did quickly want to comment. I started listening, I've listened to the first half of Mickey's talk from yesterday. And Mickey, you were mentioning your mom and I guess the grievances and stuff that that had been taking up space within you. And I didn't really get to listen, like I said, to more than half of your talk yet. But what immediately, and I sent you an email, and I would be most happy to put this link in the chat if you guys are interested in this. But it immediately made me think of this. It's a little movie, it's about an hour long, and they're showing it. It seems to be free on YouTube. But if any of you have heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer, he did a movie. It was a series of short stories. I think there was like four, and then one of them was called My Greatest Teacher. And so he did a movie of it, and the movie it's basically about his life. And Wayne Dyer would talk a lot about the grievances that he had toward his father. His father had like left or had abandoned the entire family, and as a result, his mother had to place, I think, all of the boys. Wayne Dyer is, Dove said, Wayne Dyer's graduate of ACIM. Yes, yes, I know. I've definitely heard that, and I've heard him mention it. Yes, please put the link in the chat. I will. I will as soon as I'm done here, and as soon as I'm done saying this, and if I don't, just remind me because I cannot multitask. I will totally lose what I'm saying. Um, but his dad had abandoned the entire family. His mom had to, I think, send all of the kids to foster care because she couldn't afford to raise them. And so Wayne Dyer, grew up, even though he became this prolific speaker and so on, he had this giant ball of resentment and anger and rage within him toward his father. And so what this film basically is, and how his father, spoiler alert, my greatest teacher, and the whole thing is about his dad, and how basically he was able to learn to forgive all of that. So really quick, I will put this link in the chat, and then while I'm doing this, just to avoid avoid super quiet space, if there's anything that anybody wants to share or say while I am doing this, let me know. You can ask a question. But in the meantime, I'm typing this into chat. Dyer. Hang on, typing it into YouTube so I can get the link. There it is. Okay.
I'll fill in some space for you, Dana.
Yay!
Yay! So, yeah, I was talking about that yesterday and the huge anger and resentment I had toward my mother and the incredible healing that I had surrounding all of that. And I think that happens a lot when you study the course, but it took me quite a number of years to get to actual, what I consider true forgiveness. And which, in the end, if you don't wind up at gratitude, you know you're not done. And I've heard that from other teachers before. And I used to get really pissed off at that. What do you mean? Can't I just hand it over to Holy Spirit and say, okay, you've got this now, and I forgive it, and I'm going to overlook it, but I'm not going to get to gratitude. Screw that. And I finally got to a place of gratitude for my mother. And so now I know I'm done. And now I understood what people were talking about all those years. And it is true. I think we really do have to get to gratitude. So there you go. And it looks like you found the link. So I'll hand it back to you, Dana.
Thanks, Mickey. I'm always happy to hear what you have to say. And yeah, that place of gratitude. I remember when I first started to when I first became a student of this course, and I would hear people say, here's a sign that, your forgiveness work might actually be kind of working for you. And it's because if you reach that place of gratitude. Even last year, I remember last Thanksgiving, I had like the worst day. It was just a very, very emotional day. And there was a little bit of conflict, and the conflict just because I was exhausted. I don't know about you guys, but for me, if I'm physically exhausted, which I am about 95% of the time, everything is difficult. So, including forgiveness, it's like the resistance is so high. It's like it's the body for me is shutting down. It makes my mind feel like it's shutting down, and I feel like I'm kind of incapable of doing anything. And I remember last Thanksgiving, that's exactly what happened. It's just a massive ego backlash kind of day, lots and lots and lots of tears, and oh my goodness. But I practiced the course. I let it all be there. I let it be there. I even appreciated all of the crying and stuff. I looked at it as a necessary release. So it was like I was in a place where I was able to allow both to sort of be there. I was able to allow this inner conflict, this inner turmoil, along with myself as a watcher, sort of, if that makes any sense. And the whole thing, this has been ongoing. I know what it's for. Even if I can feel like this part of me that's wanting to latch on to whatever the story is, I've actually noticed this attraction to wanting to hang on to the story. I've noticed the attraction to wanting to cast blame and make things other people's fault. It's really interesting when you look at it, right? And you start to see it there, and then you can see it's been there all along. It's, oh yeah, okay, I could see why I wanted to take things personally, why I wanted to be a victim, why I wanted to be rejected, aka rejectable, this belief in being rejectable, which I've also heard Regina talk about. That was a wonderful talk too. You start to see all of these things. I let it be there. I felt all of the absolutely horrid, horrid feelings. And I'm telling you, by later on that night, I was in such a state of gratitude. It like made my heart sing. It was like, oh my gosh, I've had the worst day ever, but thank God for it. I am so glad this happened. I was so glad I was in such a terrible place that day because of what it gave me the opportunity to let go of, even if it was just a layer of it, right? And for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it feels like it kind of gets released in layers. It seems like, oh, well, they're sticky or they're looping. These are some of the terms that maybe I know that I use, maybe other people use them too. It's possible that they're just layers, and even at this point, the resistance can come in. I thought I worked on this already, damn it, and it's like, well, I don't know what it's for. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why this thing came up. And I know I've worked on it 32 times within the last 2 days. It seems it's a thing, right? Or whatever it is, I've made it a thing. this is probably part of my code. And that's where that beautiful teaching comes in, when you start to, at least for me, when I start to kind of sit back and it's like, I have no idea why this bothers me, right? I don't know. I'm sure everybody's done this, but when you are present with a trigger, when you actually like invite it up as it's happening, and you're like, there's a part of you that kind of sits back and crosses your arms, crosses your legs, and you're like, all right, just go ahead. You're here. Show yourself to me, you know, and you're watching it. And when you're in the middle of it, you know, you can feel the body sensations. You can feel where what part of the body seems to be almost lighting up as you're going through the trigger, and what it feels like and what it seems to be telling you, and the fact that you're looking at it straight in the face and you're like, I see you there. I can feel everything that's going on in the body. I don't actually know what any of this is, but you're here. And the only thing I can do is let you be here and be willing to allow this. I'm allowing you to speak. I feel like I hate what you're saying, but you know, it seems I've been lugging you around for a really long time. And I'm willing to let you go. I'm willing to let you go into love, right? Holy Spirit, I am sharing this with you. I'm not looking to hide anything, hoard anything, protect anything, defend anything. I can't seem to help that the thoughts are there, that the feelings are there, that the triggers are there. I have absolutely no idea what any of this means. It appears to be code, right? This is just part of what makes the Dana character the Dana character. These are the things that seem to make her tick, and these are the things that seem to tick her off. I don't know what any of it means, but none of it's true. And I'm willing to hand this off into love, and that you know, I can let go. I can let go, or at least I can be willing to let go of what I've made of you, or the need to run from you or hang on to you any longer at all. So it's just that state of gratitude that you were talking about, Mickey. I never thought that I never thought that I'd ever be able to reach that kind of place. Because gratitude for me was, oh, I'm grateful for fill in the blank, you know, in the world. Um, but I've never in my life thought I could ever be so profoundly grateful for a trigger. Never while I'm in the middle of it, but definitely sometime afterwards, like to where it moves you, you know, that kind of gratitude. And then of course, you know, when the triggers and stuff come up, I think of Dove's words, you know, be grateful for your triggers, you know, and it's just a beautiful reminder, you know, that they're not these things that are trying to work against us. They're just showing us what we've been carrying around. Very much like that Hoarders show, you know, and I remember, and it's been a long time since I've watched that, but one of the most interesting things in that show, oh, real quick, I'm trying to get better at reading the chats as they come in, and I was talking, but Robert had put, it sounds like a mommy issues are a form we seem to share. I think a lot of us, and then Mickey had put, yeah, Bob, mommy issues are pretty universal. Yeah, I think the parenting issues are huge. Um, and I remember years ago when I had finally kind of just in my mind's eye looked at both of my parents at one point, and it was like I reached this realization that they were just people, right? This was before I was ever interested in trying to look at, you know, whether or not we're the Christ versus the person. But even in the dream, I remembered I had looked at them and I was like, whatever stories I tell myself about how I didn't get this thing from them or that thing from them or too much of this or whatever, it's like they were just people and they were walking emotional reactions to their own upbringings. And I know for a fact that they were doing the best they could with what they had to work with and that they loved me. And so why would I want to hang on to any grievances toward them? Of course, I didn't realize what forgiveness to destroy was. So it was like even thinking that they had done or not done something that there was to forgive or overlook wasn't true forgiveness. But that even before I had any idea what true forgiveness was, or how, that we really apply this to everything and everybody, it's all the same, that I was still willing to see them as just having done the best they could with what they had to work with, which is what we all do, right? I mean, even for myself, if I were to go back at any specific time in my life, and I do this all the time, I regret this, I regret that, blah 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 blah. It's like, could I have done any differently? We do the best we can with whatever we have. And again, I think this kind of ties into the code also, right? Regina had one, when she would talk about this, she says even the reactions are part of the code. They're going to happen. They'll probably continue to happen until we've gotten to such a state of being able to witness that it's just not necessary for it to happen anymore. But even the reactions, and I've since then, I have noticed at times the body will say something or the body will react to something seemingly seconds before I'm actually aware of what just happened. So, and I noticed, it's like, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 years ago, there was actually a video out. They had done a study, speaking of code, speaking of whether or not we are just basically living by a code, or a script, as ACIM would say. They had this video where they were hooked up to some kind of a machine, like an electrode or something, like something. And this machine was able to detect that the brain reacted to stimulus before the senses. It was like fractions of a second before the person was able to see or hear whatever it was that was going on. Their brain reacted just fractions of a second beforehand. So it kind of goes to show and lend some credibility to, it's all programmed. It's like the brain is a receiver. It's not a thinker. It's definitely not a conceiver. It's a receiver. And then it filters the things, it's been taught, whatever, how to filter things to keep us in whatever state of homeostasis we're going to be in, to not question things very much. And then it gets projected out into the world. We perceive it, right? Well, perception is that first split, I think, where I think now I'm an I or a me and not just one of God's, not just the Son of God. And then I think when we perceive here, I know for me, I've kind of mixed that up a little bit with perspective. My perception here in the world is really more of my perspective, where the ability to perceive is just that maybe first or second split of conscious, split away from God or whatever in the dream. But anyway, so all of this stuff happens in the brain first. It receives, it edits, perfectly tailored to whatever our experience is supposed to be. That picture, like a projector, gets sent out into the world. It's a 360-degree 3D total immersion movie. And we think it's real because it's supposed to be real, and it's all been scripted. And this is just a constant practice of, I don't know what this is. I don't know where I am. I don't know this thing I am. I don't know I don't know any of this stuff. It's all the same. It's all the same hallucination, mesmerizing hallucination, all meant to grab my attention and keep it there. And the more I call for God, the more I say, Holy Spirit, I give you all my goals. Turns out I don't have any anymore. I really don't have any goals anymore. I have no goals. I have no ambitions, and I've got no motivation. I want one thing. I want to know God. I want to remember God. That's it. That's my one and only goal. My one and only goal is doing everything humanly possible, not the goal itself. The resistance to the goal is doing everything humanly possible to try to keep my attention in the dream and all of its wonderful layers and confusion. This is a giant land of confusion. So intentionally designed by us to be exactly what it is. And so when, when that victimization thing starts to oh, thank you, Bob. Karen has hands up, and I am not looking at the gallery, so I would not have seen that. Yes, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, happy to be here. I love listening to you, and I just want to thank you for your honesty, your clarity, your vulnerability, just sharing yourself with us the way you do. I just really, really love it. Um, and now I know what I was going to say. I was going to say something about what Mickey said, but I just now I want to comment on what you just said. I love your goal. And my goal is very similar. I like what the course says in the manual for teachers. My goal is, well, he doesn't say it's my goal, but he says the function of a teacher of God is to let God's voice speak through it to a human ear. So really, that's my only goal. I just want to hear what the Holy Spirit has to say to me. Do I always achieve that goal? No, but that's my goal. I don't have any goals in this world because there's nothing in this world for me to have a goal for anymore. I feel the same way. To be kind, yes, I want to be kind. That's another goal. But what I wanted to share, what Mickey said, is that it's so important what Mickey said about, that she wasn't ready to be grateful, and that is so perfect because this forgiveness is a process, and we have to respect. And I learned this from not only the Course in Miracles teaches this, but Ken Wapnick drilled this. To respect the power of the mind to choose. So we respect where we are. We respect that, yeah, guess what? I'm freaking angry right now. No, I am not grateful for this shit at all. I say whatever you have to say, get it out. It's okay until you're ready. It's a process. And by looking at it, which is what we're all talking about here, looking at it with the Holy Spirit, you will get there like Mickey got there. And so just because Ken really stresses that you can't skip steps. We can't skip steps. And then I know I used to feel guilty because I didn't get there. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not with the gratitude yet. I felt so guilty about it. That was the ego trying to keep me down and keep me in the mire. So I just allowed myself, like you said, to feel the feelings, to let it be there, all of it. And I got over this with really all of that wrapped up in one. I finally was able to be grateful for my husband's suicide, for that whole story, to be grateful for it, to actually say thank you for that experience. It took years, took 8 years, but that's what it took. Doesn't matter how long it took, but I think the process is so important. So I thank Mickey for sharing that, and I thank you for all your sharing. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen, and I thank you for sharing that. I don't really know you very well. I don't know your story and stuff, or just any of the stuff that may have gone on. And I definitely need to go back and check out like some of your videos and stuff because I love everything that you say. Yeah, that place of gratitude is not always such an easy place to get to. And when our experiences in this world can be so wildly painful that it's like, I can't, it's so hard to think that this is where, the whole hierarchy, there's no hierarchy of illusions, some things seem like they might be easier to forgive, other things maybe not so much or impossible, but it's like, it's helpful to know it's all the same dream, but our experience of it is not going to be that way. And yes, as far as what Ken says, respect the power of the mind. I could be wrong, but the way I see it is the mind of God created the world. God did not do it. God has nothing to do with the world, but he shared his creative abilities with us, with his one son. And it's with this powerful mind that we have dreamt up this world. So God has nothing to do with it because God's not insane. We, on the other hand, just had a little momentary lapse, wonder what if, oh goodness, I'm terrible now, for even wondering it. And come to think of it, now that I say that, I've had, we all have some dark thoughts and stuff. And when mine come in, I have just realized like how horrible and guilty I feel for even the thought showing up, even though at this point I know I'm not the one who had it, right? Just the fact that it can even show up. So yeah, this is a very powerful mind that we're dealing with. And, Ken would say, I mean, it may be foolproof, but it is not God proof. Meaning there's like nothing we can do in the world, to fix the world of the world. There are things we can express, obviously, that would be I say echoes of our holiness into the world. That would be the solution. But there's nothing in the world of the world that we can use because this is not meant for that, right? This is meant to be let go of. But and there was another teacher, I think I mentioned him last week, Michael Mirdad, who also, he's written books, and one of them was about A Course in Miracles. He's talked about it and stuff. And he says this one thing that resonates very well with me, and it's know the truth, but respect the illusion. And so it's like these things, everything that's going on here. Of course, when I first became a course student, they talk about, okay, there is no world. I loose the world from all I thought it was. I'm not a body. I am free, and this and that. We say these mantras, and it's like, but do I really believe that? No, I don't believe that. It'd be nice if I got to a point where I knew that to be the truth, but I'm not at that place right now. And very much like what you were just saying, just be honest about where we are. It's all, no matter how crappy it seems, I'm supposed to forgive this thing, but I just can't. I cannot overlook this right now. I cannot seem to feel better. I know I'm supposed to be kind, but damn it, I just do not feel like being kind. It's all for the same purpose. That's okay. Everything has the same purpose. One thing I was able to hear in the first half hour of Mickey's talk was, when I just lost it. Do you guys ever have that happen where you're talking about something and it literally just vanishes as you're gearing up to say it? Because that's exactly what just happened to me. And Mickey was talking, yeah, okay, all of you, thank you. Not the only one. Oh my gosh, this was something that Mickey was talking about, and it was a beautiful point. I was just about to hone in on it, and it just completely vanished. Wait, Robert just put squirrel. Exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just, you know what? I'm just gonna attribute this to age. But anyway, it's about 5 minutes until I wrap this up. If it comes back within those 5 minutes, I will be happy to share it, but I think it has just completely vanished. That's pretty much what's going on so far this week, though, right? Just going through, everything is up for forgiveness. It's all the same practice, no matter what it is, no matter how dark it seems or how trivial it seems, no matter what the content appears to be or what the form appears to be. It's all the same forgiveness lesson. Yeah, it's all the same forgiveness lesson. And that's the beauty of this course. That's what she was saying. She was saying it's simple. That's right. Mickey, you were saying that this course is simple and that it's actually easy. I think you were talking about that the only complications are the ego. It would be the egos, right? That the only reason this would be complicated is because the ego complicates crap out of everything. Yeah, you got your thumb up, so apparently I got it. See, I knew it. I was hoping it would come back, and it did. I got to listen to the rest of your chat. Karen, when is your surgery scheduled? November 4th. It is scheduled for November 4th, 6.5 weeks. I have not had any kind of surgery since I was 5 years old and had my tonsils out, and I don't remember much about that. So this is like all new for me. So yeah, that's what's going on here. So I want to thank all of you for being here And Robert had put awesome, Dana. Thanks. Thank you, Robert, for being here. And Karen had put, we'll be extending extra love that day. Thank you so much. Really, I've handed this entire thing over, and catching that I'm still suffering seemingly challenges when it comes to trust and control. But this is all coming up. It's all coming up into my awareness. It's really not for me to change as the person. It is up for me to hand over and offer it up to be forgiven. Right? I'm just the messenger, so to speak. So that's my role. So Karen, thanks for your beautiful, honest sharing. Thank you, Karen. I don't plan very well, so that's that's what came out. So I really love you guys, and I thank you for just being a part of my experience and for being on this journey with me. So it's always nice to feel like you've just got a little tribe, even if you haven't met them in person yet. So.
Well, thank you so much, Dana, and I so appreciate your sharing everything up. Really, really, so open and honest. And honestly, this is what we're here for. And I was gonna mention I've had quite a few surgeries of different types, and I'm sure Karen could give you some 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 advice or thoughts about having surgery. But the thing that I noticed, and this is not my original idea. I heard it from Alon Helogeva, which I don't know if you know who Alon is, but
Mm-mm.
Israeli teacher. Anyway, so he said, notice this: when you go in for a surgery, they will put you to sleep. And after they put you asleep, they will cut you open, they will take out things, they will put things back in, they will rearrange things, they will sew things up, they will do all these things, and the body doesn't even notice. The body doesn't care. The body is just nothing, just there, being there for all of this thing to happen. It's only when you come out of the anesthesia and you start experiencing the body, the mind becomes engaged. And when the mind becomes engaged, the mind says, "Oh my God, what happened to me?" This is not good. This is because it's not the body that has the problem. It's
Right.
only the mind. And I've noticed that as I've noticed that, going through after, all the healing. And of course, there's going to be some discomfort, believe me, and you will know that throughout the healing time. And you'll notice that if you take a drug like for the pain, it will it'll disengage the mind from the pain. The drug is not going to the part that's been damaged. The drug is going to your brain, and it's your mind that's being told that not to experience what the body is telling it. Unless the mind's engaged, the body is just a neutral thing. And so I've really uh, experienced it's tremendous recognition of the truth of what I was or what I am when I have been coming back from these uh, s- injuries and surgeries. So I just it's a wonderful experience. I cannot recommend it more. Anyway, yeah, exactly. And Mickey says, yeah, the pain meds block the receptors in the mind, not the body. does nothing to the body.
Right.
Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you for everything, Dana, and I'll stop this sharing here where I put up that lovely violet flame of the Aurora Borealis. And thank you so much. And thank you everyone who's been with us today. Today is Friday, so we have no more programs tonight.
Karen's got her hand up.
Okay, and yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, Len, maybe we could have like a closed meeting sometime before Dana's surgery, a bunch of us who've had surgeries, just for support and just for how to share our experiences, what you just experienced. I mean, that's very helpful, you know. Just maybe a little, private meeting. It doesn't have to be on YouTube.
Oh,
Just a
sure.
closed meeting to share on our experiences and what could be truly helpful as far as surgery in the body and illness and sickness and all that good stuff that we all go through every day.
Oh,
I think it's a great idea.
yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
I think
All
that would
right.
be good. Okay.